Buckle up. It's the Insurance Dudes Podcast.
Boom! Finally got Brett Young on here. I think it's maybe the fifth attempt.
You know, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Yeah.
There you go.
It works.
Awesome. Super great to meet you guys.
Yeah, really good to meet you. That's how insurance dudes have to do it anyway. We got to make 90 phone calls to get somebody on the phone. And here we are.
It's true.
You know?
That's true. Persistence.
Persistence pays off. So without even going into anything yet, we're going to start with speed breakers, which I can never pronounce.
Speed breakers. Yep. Let's do it. And I'll time this.
I'm scared.
Brett,
the previous was a minute. 1 minute. Can you beat 1 minute? All right.
Okay.
The time begins when I finish the first question. Is the timer on the board?
Yep.
I wish we could put a little.
Get ready.
All right. Get ready.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Now I got to find it. Here we go. Have you ever had a mullet?
All right.
Have I ever had what? Say it again.
A mullet. A mullet.
No, never had a mullet.
A first crush.
Lindsay in 6th grade.
Ooh, most embarrassing thing your mom ever caught you doing. You have to be honest.
Man. Is this censored?
so we know. Fastest speed ever driven.
110.
Favorite cereal.
Tricks.
Oh, Tricks are for kids. How many kids?
2.
Have you made cry? Please answer the full question.
2.
Count Chocula or Count Dracula?
Count Dracula.
A lot of Dracula today. Fastest mile?
Too slow.
Too slow. Favorite flavor?
Strawberry.
Dogs or cats?
Nice.
Dogs.
Thank you. Tacos or burritos?
Tacos.
And the ringer, Trump or Biden?
Trump.
He just says it. Most people are scared to say it.
Yeah, everyone is.
Awesome. Well,
nice.
I love it.
110.
110? Oh.
But you added the question at the end. So
Trump or Biden?
Take off 5 seconds. Yeah.
105 still. That doesn't prove anything. Okay. Well, put it on there.
I don't win the crown.
No. Almost.
You know,
although your hat is sick.
Yeah. First loser.
So Brett's got his logo from his agency on his hat, and if you see this on the interwebs, you'll notice that it is not your traditional agency logo. It's super cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, I like it.
I appreciate that.
It's a good logo.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. My business partner takes credit for that. I mean, he handles all the gear and he does a pretty good job. So I just show up with it on. It's way easier for me.
Yeah. And Nike shirt with your logo on it. It's great.
I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
He's got it dialed in over there.
He does have it dialed in.
And where are you located?
So we're out of Central Florida. We've got an office here in Orlando, and then we've got an office in Melbourne, Florida.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. What was the first concert you ever went to?
The first concert I ever went to. God, that's a good question. I think it was a Goo Goo Dolls concert.
Really? Was that during the what was the big first song? Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh, Goo Goo Dolls. Good one.
Gosh.
Song of the Angel soundtrack.
Is it? I'm gonna butcher this, but was it Black Balloons? There was a lot of good tracks from Goo Goo Dolls. It's been a minute, but that was a great show. Great show.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
I missed that. I don't know when I'm gonna get to do that again, but
never.
Yeah,
virtually. It's gonna be a hologram.
We should do an Insurance Dudes Goo Goo Dolls concert. That'd be great. You guys set that up.
That would be phenomenal. So take us back to the Goo Goo days of the Goo Goo Dolls and what brought you into insurance.
Yeah, man, right? That's kind of everybody's story, right? How did you land where you landed? And it's always something interesting, right? Mine is different than maybe some people that I talked to, I actually got introduced in the insurance business. I was in network marketing for 5 years, working an insurance product, and built a business, a pretty decent business, and learned a lot of the insurance concepts from doing that. Did some employee benefits with that product, had some success, and then ultimately I was kind of running all around town trying to meet people on their lunch breaks and for kind of some voluntary benefit type stuff. And I decided that the PNC world would be maybe a little bit more strategic for lifestyle wise. And I had learned kind of the team building concepts from that network marketing background, and personal development, a lot of the different leadership stuff that's very prevalent in that space. And then kind of getting attracted to the PNC world. That's kind of how those things collided.
I didn't even
Right.
realize that existed.
Yeah.
Is it a company that we would recognize?
Probably it was a product. It used to be called Prepaid Legal Services. Now it's called Legal Shield.
Okay.
They have a legal plan product that they offer. And then they obviously have an identity theft product that they offer. And we built that business for 5 years, and loved it. And then, transitioned a lot of those concepts and things that we've learned into the property and casualty space.
Yeah. A lot of people take kind of get schooling on how to run business or develop processes and implement outside of the insurance industry, and then they bring it to the insurance industry.
Right. I think that's a cool way, right? Because you get a couple different tastes from different environments, and what can you bring with your own twist, and how can you make it your own? So yeah, I think that was a unique experience that has served us well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you landed here, or did you do insurance elsewhere?
Yeah. So from there, I did what all aspiring insurance agents do. I went and got my 220 with no job, and then I put an ad on Craigslist that I was willing to work for free. So I did that, and then I found an agency, went to go work with them as a producer. They gave me a laptop and a contract and said, here you go. I was still on my parents' insurance policy at that time period. I had never seen a deck page in my life. I got my 220 and I still hadn't seen a deck page. And then, that was the rest. The rest is history, man. So it's been a cool ride.
How long did you do that?
Yeah, that was, 13 years ago.
13 years ago. So what did you, times were a little different back then, right? We were just talking, because that's about when I got into it too. And running the way that we run our agencies now, you couldn't have done back then, because there just wasn't the tech, there wasn't social media, or social media was just starting. I mean, there was barely even, I don't even know if there was an iPhone yet. Right. And so it's fascinating how much has changed, right, over that period of time. Like you had a notebook and were probably writing names in there and doing it, the old way, certainly doing
That's
it the hard way.
That's how I learned. Yeah. Make a list, contact that list, invite into that list, and then rinse and repeat. Right. So,
So what was your strategy at the beginning?
Go find anybody with a heartbeat, because apparently the property and casualty space, everybody has it, needs it, wants it, buys it every year. So I was kind of ignorance on fire, man. I didn't know any better. I just knew that if I could get in touch with enough people, ask for opportunities, get their current coverage, even if I hadn't learned all of it yet, if I can bring that back to the mothership and have somebody help me, then at least that gives me a shot to put something in front of them that could be better. Candidly, that was my only strategy. I'd learned that in my past life that it wasn't necessarily, you didn't have to be the expert all the time, especially in our space. I mean, it's a matter of, contacting relationships, getting an opportunity. At that point, I was working with somebody who knew a lot more than me. So I just positioned it as, hey, I'm working with this person. They're a lot better than me. I'd love to have an opportunity to kind of take a look at what you have, So yeah, that was it.
So take us from that time to now, because you guys are crushing it, it looks like.
Thanks, man.
So I mean, and I think the last 13 years, going back to Craig and my conversation earlier today, it really has been through a lot of changes, a lot of, when internet first, when internet was early 2000s, super scary, like, the internet's going to take our jobs. And then, oh, wait, it's not, but it's a tool, and it's kind of been all over the place. So I'd love to know, like, how you started and how you ended up where you are.
Thank you for that. It's funny, yeah, because I look at it as it's a medium of communication now instead. But before it was like the big bad monster that's going to replace all the agents, right? And I'm glad that isn't the case. But I'm also I'm always weary that you got to make sure we're getting better, because otherwise, the internet is undefeated. It's undefeated,
right?
Yeah. I worked there for a little bit, and I built that book from scratch. I moved my young wife, who knew nothing other than just to trust and had good faith in me, to do something crazy like that. I'd always been an entrepreneur. Keep in mind that I had done multiple businesses before this, so that wasn't abnormal for me. But we moved to this town where the agency was, did that for about 12, 13 months. Believe it or not, I had a contract and I signed a non-compete, and the idea was that I was going to own my book, since we were starting from scratch, or at least I was going to be vested for part of it. And we got to, I moved to that town. She supported us the whole time. I think that first year I made like 13 grand. It was, it was ridiculous. And so on my renewals coming up, I finally, you're telling your wife, hey, don't worry, hang in there. Renewal season is coming. At least we're going to get to the second year. And, we got to the second year, and the month after we got to the renewal cycle, they kind of knocked on my door and said, hey, by the way, we're not going to do that anymore. You gotta write this amount, which was a big portion of business, and then we'll let you vest for your book. I was like, hold on a second. We had a deal here. Like, and I signed something. Well, I signed a non-compete, but I never got that in writing because I was young and immature, and I just didn't know any better. And so that was a really big moment for me, because I had to I had worked this whole time to build a reputation and do this deal. And now this kind of was like put to a decision, what you were going to do. And, I'm so grateful after all that. I didn't even have a bed frame. It was a mattress on the floor for the entire time. It's great. But so I go back to her and I'm like, hey, here's the deal. Here's what it is. And then I start justifying why it's okay. Well, it's fine. It's not a big deal. And this, and I just remember she just looked at me and she says, no, she goes, you can't work there. And I'm like, well, it's fine. Well, here's what's the deal. It's not that big of a deal. And she's like, absolutely not. That's bad integrity. That's not how we do things. And that's not going to be a long-term fit. You need to go find another place. So I had to, yeah, man. So, she's the hero. She's the strong one, not me. I'm like, look, this 13th month, I've been looking forward to this since we started. So, it's okay. But, so she kind of forced me to make a tough decision. And so I went out to look for, and I had brought 3 or 4 from my team, my past team, to come work at this agency. So we're building out this sales team. And so all these guys had been basically looking at me for, this is the next step. So I had to make a decision that this wasn't going to be. Well, of course, if you have 3 or 4 people that you've been kind of responsible for, you have to have the next thing lined up. That's a burden that wasn't necessarily mine, but I kind of felt responsible. So we went and looked for a place not to start an agency. We went and looked for a place where we could build a team inside of an agency. I'm a team builder. I wanted to bring that team and build that out inside someone's agency. I had no intention or want to start an agency. And then I went and interviewed with some of the bigger firms and some of the major national kind of shops, and I just realized that it just wasn't going to be a good fit. It was a little corporate for me. It was just a little rigid, and I'm a creative. So, we had this crazy idea. At that time, I was working with my old business partner. His wife had come over to be an agent, and my brother, who is now my partner as well. There's 3 of us. He was getting out of school, at the time, and couldn't stand the internship that he just went through. So he was easy. I recruited him to come do this stupid thing called start an insurance agency from scratch. And man, it was the hardest and best thing we ever did. So from there, we started from one policy at a time, and we started over, and it was really tough for 3.5 years. And then after that, we started to really gain some traction. And fast forward today, we've got 22 team members, and we've had a significant organic growth rate for a really long time, and we're doing really well. So it was the hardest thing I've done, but I'm super blessed. And it was all because of that decision my wife made me a long time ago.
Yeah.
Love it. Now, I don't want to skim over because I know there's some good stuff there. One thing that I love that you did is you recognized having a team was more important than having the job, basically, because you knew that you could take this the team is your equity. You could take this team anywhere and you could thrive. So you start this agency with 2 other dudes, nobody, and you take the 4 dudes that from the other business, right? And you guys all start.
Yeah, so one of those dudes was a partner, right? And it was him and his wife, which was the Urban Young, Rod. And so we're working together. That's working. And then Taylor decided he was going to come on this journey. I recruited him with an $8 lunch from Chipotle. So boom, shout out to Chipotle. And then the other guy became a producer and came over and worked with us. And then we just, we literally bought 3 laptops and went to an upstairs bedroom, basement, like a bonus room. And we built this out of the house. And I still remember we used Google, we used the Google numbers or phone. So people would call the office and it would ring to the cell phone. And we still make fun of this all to this day. It's great. So our phones would ring, one person would answer, and then it would be for me, and my brother would answer, like, yeah, no problem, let me transfer you. So he'd put it on mute and he would just hand me the cell phone. and that was it, man. It was just a hustle. It was just a hustle, and one policy at a time, one step at a time. So 6 of you guys in a bedroom. So it was 3 of us and then one outside producer at that point, because technically Rod and Susan were 1. Rod was working his full-time job. He's been a very successful dude in medical sales, and he had his own team and he was working that. So he's more of a passive investor. And then his wife was the agent for the first 3.5 years until he was able to make the switch. And then Taylor, who's the 3rd business partner and my blood brother. I consider Rod my other brother. And then we had another gentleman who came over, who's no longer with us, but did a fantastic job and worked as a producer for 3.5 years. So, yeah.
That's cool. So take us through that. So you're working in a bedroom. And so for those 3 years, what was it like? I mean, a few months of that, it had to be, at some point, somebody's got to be going, dude, this is crazy. Yeah. So take us through that whole, I want to know the deets.
Man, faith is a powerful thing. Faith is a powerful thing. I still look back, honestly, guys, and I still kind of shake my head and go that we escaped our own worst enemy, which was, this is very difficult. You throw in the towel. And this is what's challenging in our industry and our business, is that that barrier to entry is tough for newer agents, right? That first couple years is a grind, so. But this was back before we had multi-raters. We're quoting, every auto by itself till 9:30 at night. And then, trying to, obviously sell these 1 or 2 the next day and then go out and get policies and bring them in. We had no sales, marketing infrastructure yet. But it was tough. I mean, we had multiple conversations about, is this worth it? We had multiple conversations about how long is this going to take? We had multiple conversations about just getting to a livable wage so we could manage. And ultimately at the end, it was about, what's the long-term lifestyle look like? What does the dream look like? And is it worth it? And the answer always came back to, absolutely, it's worth it. We just got to get better.
Any moments where you were about to throw in the towel?
Oh man, multiple moments. And anybody who has partners, I mean, you guys know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. I know, Rod, Taylor, and I have had multiple matches where, the stress is mounting and you take it out on the other person, and you sometimes you point fingers at people and you look back afterwards and you don't like yourself because of the way that you've acted, especially in those stressful situations. I think that's the biggest advantage we have, is we have partners. We have, there's 3 of us, but also that's the most challenging because we've had to grow together. So there have been, I still remember we went to a barbecue place and, we got out of the office, and I remember us looking around at each other and being like, is this even possible to sustain this? And the answer was no, unless we do something different. And at that moment, we kind of pivoted and changed our model a little bit, and it worked, and we caught some traction, and it's been good.
That's so cool. And it's so true with partners. There's always a give and a take to everybody thinks the grass is greener on the other side, no matter whatever you're talking about. But absolutely. I want to know, so those first 3 years, what were some of the milestones that you're like, whoa, wait a minute, this is starting to work? Or what was the timeline of that?
Man, I have a funny story if I could say this on air, but one of the
100%.
moments that I remember the most was, so we had a commercial account that we wrote, and this was early in my career. I'd been doing commercial for maybe 2 years at this point, and we wrote this nightclub, and it wasn't a big account, but for us, it was a nice account. It was probably 40 in premium, and it was a good nice pop for us, especially the size. And I remember, high fives of getting this done, getting it, bound, and it was a huge deal. And we had a virtual office, right? So because you need a primary location, it can't just all be run out of your house. So we had this virtual office, and we rent space. And he's like, "All right, I'm going to come in, I'll sign docs, and I'll pay you." Well, of course, right? You make it very clear to everyone that you don't take cash. We do, at least. But this gentleman felt compelled to show up with cash. And he shows up with this, he signs all the documents. And of course, I'm excited, right? Because this is a big account for us. I'm fired up. Everybody else is like sending me text message on the way there. Congratulations. And he shows up, he signs the docs, and he takes this brown paper bag and he dumps out all this cash onto the conference table. And I'm like, super at this point, I'm like, oh, this is not good. Like, I don't know what to do. Do I say no? Like, do I say yeah? Like, say, hey, thanks for the money, but I can't take it. I don't know what to do. I've never been in that situation before. Hindsight being 2020, I would have said, hey man, I can't take that from you. You got to figure out that way to write me a check. So anyway, I end up taking it right to the bank. But as I'm walking out there, I literally text everybody. I'm like, look, this is where I am. I feel like I'm going to get jumped as soon as I walk out here. Please, if you don't hear from me in 5 minutes, go ahead and make the call to the police. Long story short, I didn't get jumped. I made the deposit. We were okay. But that was a moment, man, where it was like, all right, you're one relationship, you're one call, you're one no away from getting to a yes that could, potentially put you on a path to have some significant momentum. So that was a big deal.
Was it the whole 40,000?
He didn't pay the whole 40,000, but he paid a good chunk of it. and it wasn't all hundreds. Let's just put it that way. I mean,
just a stack.
It was crazy.
It's hilarious. Man. It's so crazy when you're starting a business, any business. There's this like very slow growth. Like it just seems like, oh shit, this is not sustainable, and you can't see the end. And it's at that breaking point that it makes that turn.
Yeah, it's almost like life wants you to prove to it that you're worth it. It's like it's making sure that you're worthy of the blessing that's coming your way. Because I mean, I totally agree with you, man. It's there have been so many moments to where you want to throw the towel in and just grit. Nothing else but just grit shows as the promises to why you get to the next level. And I don't think that ever goes away. Honestly, like higher the level, bigger the devil. Like I know that we're dealing with challenges right now that I never dreamed of, so you constantly have to, there's a saying around here that says that we have good problems, good problems. And I hope that never goes away, because to me, that's the thrill of entrepreneurship. That's the thrill of business. That's the fun. That's the game. So it's just tough when you're not being compensated accordingly, and you've got, you got to feed your family. That's where it gets tough. So.
Yeah. Big challenge solving, but no money in return is rough.
Yeah. It's all potential, right? Yeah. It's all for the promise.
What were some of the what were some of the things that you learned along the way that took your agency in some big strides?
To be continue.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, Mr. Craig.
That was another awesome episode, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if people want to get a little bit more action and learn how to write 100,000 in premium off of even the worst internet leads, where could they go?
They can go to live.teledudes.com.
Ooh, that sounds exciting. Are we going to be there?
Yes. It's a weekly call that we're doing right now it's live, and it will show you the process. The entire process is super awesome.
I love it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Sign up right now. Live.teledudes.com.
Live.teledudes.com. That's live.teledudes.com.
Hey, Craig, there's a new community that we are starting that I cannot wait to tell everybody about. It is our live texting community where you and I are going to answer people's questions and give them free content, right?
Are you kidding me? We get to talk to them?
Yeah, which is awesome, but they have to opt in. They have to text us at 520-214-2219. That's 520-214-2219.
Nice.
Craig, are you going to respond to these texts?
I'm going to respond to them for sure. Live.
I'm into it too. It's going to be awesome. And it's going to be our new texting community where we're going to get back to everybody that we can and drop some crazy content, free content, and free the calculator that you just came up with. That's right. The calling calculator, sales material. I mean, everything for insurance agents. This is it. It's the best texting community out there for insurance agents.
Well, what the heck is that number again? I can't remember it.
It's 520-214-2219. That's 520-214-2219.
I love it. I'm going to text it right now.
520-214-2219.
All right. I'll see you later, Mr. Jason.
Bye, Mr. Craig.
Wait, do they even listen to this on the radio anymore?
I love it. I love it. Nice.
All right.